first came across Dr. Judy Wood a couple of years ago. Ironically, it was from a disinformation article suggesting she was saying something she wasn't. But I made a little video of it, and it was very, very popular, and I detected immediately an orchestrated smear campaign. So obviously there was some truth in here, and I had to discover what it was. Now, you will see a video of just selections of from her book. You can also see on the web her entire talks, and her website is completely thorough. But I'll mention some of the major points she's making as I understand it, and I can be wrong. We are told, given that most of us don't believe what happened on 9/11 and we suspect a conspiracy, we've been presented with thermite, nukes, and shipping tons of debris out over months. Well, I think she discounts all these ideas, and I think they've been presented to us to pacify us in the wrong direction. Thermite makes an extraordinarily bright white light. That was not present on 9/11 in the Trade Center in New York. Nor was there tons of molten metal. The whole thing was videoed by 1 million people. There's no evidence showing that. In fact, there was precious little debris left. Where did the towers go? Please watch Dr. Judy Wood explain. But I'm just discounting some of the major theories that are presented to us. The main ingredients of thermite are aluminium and iron ore dust. Well, the buildings happen to be made of those things. To find remnants of them, you know, is no surprise. It's extraordinary how the metal all disappeared, and the porcelain, all the non-organic material, but yet paper was everywhere, unburnt. Nukes give off, there's something, strontium or trontium. There's evidence of nuclear works, you know. There was none. There's none there, and it's all recorded. Seismology, everything. She's attacked it all. She has a PhD in engineering or similar, and it's all scientifically documented and analyzed. Finally, I'll touch on one other point. The World Trade Center was built on the Hudson River, and so it's got a dike around it, and it's called a bathtub for some reason. Now, if those two buildings of 500,000 tons collapsed down, they would have broken the bathtub. The whole of Manhattan would have been flooded. That did not happen. So, look, here is a very short interview with Dr. Judy Wood, just explaining some of the things that she's talking about, and I hope you'll take time to explore her longer talks and her website, and forgive me if I've misquoted or made mistakes, misrepresented her. I'm not an expert in this field at all. What's the plane showing?
Well, if the plane was coming into a wall at some angle, it's going to hit the engines first on that one side, which is going to put a force back, which is going to cause the thing to rotate. It's not going to keep going straight and make a, you know, crisp silhouette of passage that direction. Also, the plane is this wide, and it's not going to make a hole that's this wide without leaving parts down on the floor, I mean on the ground. And
there was a plane part found outside the Pentagon, wasn't there? Or somewhere?
Some piece of tinfoil with the piece of painting on it. It wasn't, I kind of joke about that because it's like somebody took some tin snips on a thin piece of something, and it's just, it's nothing really having any substance.
It wasn't part of an engine.
It would have been part of a fuselage, just outer skin. But why is that the only thing that survives? You know, engines are pretty tough. Also, if you've ever ridden on an airplane, and you look out the window, it says, no step here, or no step, because it's delicate.
Listen, you've got your book there. Please show us around your book. Randomly pick a page and tell us what it's saying there.
Okay, well, this one is the inside of Building 6.
What is special about that? That it's here?
Well, there's nothing in there. Down to ground level.
So how tall was it?
8 stories.
But nothing hit Building 6.
But yeah, right. It's you just lost the inner amount there. Here's another picture of Building 6. I count the floors: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well,
so we would know we're at ground level.
Yeah, but what? Why did it fall down? Nothing hit it.
Oh, it didn't fall down. It went missing. The inside of it just went missing. There's a void there.
So what? There's no debris there?
Here's this image from the top view here. You have all these, looks like cylindrical cutouts that sort of coalesce into one big, 50% approximately of the building's mass is missing.
So that's the roof. It's hard to realize how big that is. That's the roof missing.
And there's some guys walking into that open area, and it's at ground level. Everything's just missing.
So you don't think all the debris has been taken out from there?
Yeah, it looked like that immediately afterwards.
Didn't they ship all the steel to China?
Were the receipts?
So that was just a big fib.
By noon on 9/11, when the dust cleared, you see nothing there. Just about nothing. Nothing in proportion. There was 14 people in stairwell B that survived, having 106 stories fall on them. And they walked out on their own. There were 2 other people who were there too. So altogether there's, I guess, 16. But ladder 6, they didn't lose anybody. And the whole group of them were stuck in there, for a couple hours. Well, when the dust cleared, do you have a quote I'd like to read that J. Jonas said? He said, this is where they were. Right down here at the base of that building, when the building's doing this. They're right at the base. And J. Jonas said, I looked up and said, guys, there used to be 106 stories above us, and now I'm seeing sunshine. There's nothing above us. That big building doesn't exist. These were the biggest office buildings in the world, and I didn't see one desk, one chair, one phone, nothing.
Inexplicable.
Another one of them who came out of stairwell B described coming out onto an empty football field. But we're told these various terms like pile, so you assume there's a pile there. You imagine a pile. But there wasn't evidence of one.
Let's go for another page. This is great.
Well, it's just randomly. Randomly, here we have a toasted car. I use the term toasted, not burnt, because I don't know what the cause was. Toasted as in it's toast, it's history. Here the front end is totally toasted and the back end not toasted at all. An abrupt boundary. The inside is totally toasted. But why are the lights not melted? If that had been a big rip-roaring fire, the plastic lights would have been melted.
The only explanation, to my mind, is a military type of weapon, military onslaught of some sort.
That goes into, the who part of it. Without having to figure out who did it, somebody did it.
Well, they weren't aliens, they were humans.
Right, and they don't necessarily have to be in the military to do this. Right. You could do this with a handful of people if you had the right technology.
Okay.
And it's a principle that has been demonstrated on a small scale by one person in his apartment. It's understanding this type of physics. We're not taught this type of physics in school, but it's clear that it exists in nature, too.
Now, this person you mentioned, he must be under scrutiny.
Oh, yeah.
He must not have a totally free life.
Well, he tries not to let things stand in his way, but he's been so marginalized that he's kind of ineffective. And that's if you're ineffective, then you're not a threat. So if you marginalize people.
But on the other hand, people would want his technology for their nefarious needs and intentions.
Some already have it, so why would they need him to get it to them?
Right.
There's a fellow who even got a patent on this type of technology over 100 years ago on radiant energy. where he was demonstrating levitation. You know, we don't hear about those things in our physics classes.
No, not at all.
But we see that in nature. How do you get a car on top of a telephone pole when there's a storm, a tornado, or a hurricane?
Mm.
And this past spring, around the Dallas, Texas area, April 3rd, there were these big semi-tractor-trailer trucks that were just flying through the air. You know, almost like they had wings and took off, but they're flying through the air, and then whatever was causing them to levitate dropped them. They fell out of that.
I mean, the megalithic structures around the world are incredible. There's a stone in Lebanon that weighs 1,000 tons. Levitation's the only explanation. I mean, it's been moved.
Well, we saw at Coral Castle, Ed Leedskalnin built a castle out of coral in Florida. He mined the coral, excavated it as brain coral, 15-ton stones, and made a house out of it. This 120-pound guy with this little chain. The chain couldn't hold 15 tons.
So when did he do this? I'm not familiar with it.
Let's see. He died in 1950, something like that. I've got the pictures of it in here.
Have you? You must have come across Reich and his orgone energy and so forth.
Yeah, but I've not. You know, that's I've not looked at it directly. And one thing I think is great about John Hutchison, you know, I don't know how to go back in time to see Tesla, so I have to take somebody's word for it and read it in a book. I don't know that exists, but I can go visit John Hutchison, see him demonstrate it right before my eyes, and then I know it exists.
What are you going to show me here?
Here's Coral Castle.
Oh.
Here's the Great Pyramid. Both of them were built with 15-ton stones, approximately. Each stone's 15 tons. There's somebody standing down here, and this blow-up, you can see they're just shorter than 2 stones in height. The doorway of Ed Leedskalnin's castle is a little less than 2 stones in height. The stones are approximately the same size and weight.
Where is the castle? In Florida?
Yeah, in Florida. And he even moved it, the whole thing.
Oh, never heard about that before.
This is the fellow who does levitation with the patent, George Piggott. Like a little bow tie on, observing his experiment. He doesn't have a lab coat. But this does exist. You can go down and look at this. And how did one guy build this? Well, I suggest the same thing probably could be used with Stonehenge or whatever else.
It seems once one reads your book, you not only learn about 9/11, but you learn about a lot of energy issues.
Also, what I'm told that the book is like a course in critical thinking, and it empowers the reader. Like, wait a minute, how did I miss that? It was right in front of me. And they start noticing other things and start thinking more clearly. But there's something else that I hadn't anticipated. Why this book is so powerful. That people who were, almost the whole world was duped on 9/11. People don't like to admit to others that they were duped. The ego gets in the way and they dig their heels in if somebody's trying to tell them. But if they sit down with the book all by themselves, they can think to themselves. They don't have any ego to protect. And they can work their way through and say, like, why was I conned? And they learn from that and help, not get in that situation in the future.
I'm going to thank you again.
Thank you.
No, I haven't seen the receipt, but it doesn't make sense to me. All those cars in a line, door handles and engines gone. I'd tell you if I could, but you need to ask Judy.